They have literally taken my home.
In our story, this is David.
Oh, they're muscling you now.
Yeah.
Because you spoke up.
Yes.
And this is Goliath.
The mayor of the city of Detroit, Mike Duggan.
Some years ago, after being shot, Charles Brooks Jr. received an instruction from God. The Lord told Brooks that if he built it here, they would come.
I wanted to stay committed in the city of Detroit. And as the Lord blessed me and talked to me, I just branched out and started redoing the community.
And so the faithful servant cobbled together 7 lots and built this, the castle. It is only 10 miles from downtown Detroit, but light years away. Brooks has one house on his estate left to fix. He began the work, as you can see, but then fell ill. Unsatisfied, the mayor of Detroit, Mike Duggan, sued Brooks in court without telling Brooks.
I have a right to due process.
Brooks found out the city had put a lien on his property, but only when the summons server showed up.
I'm not going to apologize for a tool the city of Detroit used to get rid of countless abandoned houses.
That's not abandoned. That's not abandoned. You all know that's not abandoned.
The mayor's men claim they tacked a blight notice on the rear property back in November. Brooks said he never saw any notice, and one wonders how the inspector could scale a 7-foot piked fence.
So they're going to war with you just because because you didn't clean that up and they never told you to clean it up.
Right.
I looked it up. You've never been issued a blight ticket for it.
The city and Brooks came to an agreement this past weekend. Brooks has 180 days to get permits, utilities, and tenants. Otherwise, the city will take his land.
It's a beautiful thing here. What is being done, it shows a lot of unity.
Also this weekend, a small miracle of social media happened. The neighborhood came to help Brooks because they consider him to be their true mayor.
This is our answer that the community came out here and helped me answer.
The community showed up to help, and they're gonna fuck his brand new shoes up.
And one wonders why the city's so troubled about Brooks anyhow, when the city's own properties, bordering each side of his Garden of Eden, are hulking hellscapes of filth and feral animals. And one wonders about this house on the city's north end.
Well, this lieutenant governor's old house. Bought it from the city for 13 grand. Had 6 months to fix it up. He didn't. 2 years later, they let him sell it for $200,000 more or less and let him keep it. That ain't the rules. That's not a door. Where's the power meters? Did I already put my tongue on it? Sure could use some walls and some wiring and some plumbing, and it could use a little brickwork. That's been sitting there for a year.
2,000 other property owners in the city didn't get that kind of treatment.
It looked like they'd done anything.
They got their property repossessed, not Gilchrist. He got to sell the building to a shell company from Miami. Who would pay that kind of money for a place with no walls or wiring or plumbing? How did the shell company even find out about it? The building was never listed for sale. And how come 6 years and a dozen blight tickets later, this shell company still gets to keep it? And oh yeah,
Your taxes are delinquent.
so now Duggan and Gilchrist want to be your governor, and Charles Brooks Jr., the mayor of the East Side, wishes to be left alone to finish his castle. He'll do that, and then he plans to rehab the city's nearby house of horror into a trade school to uplift his people. That would truly be a miracle.
So remember, the new Detroit is a lot like the old Detroit. It's not what you are, it's who you know.
Live from downtown Detroit, it's the No Bullshit News Hour with my main man, Charlie LeDuff and Karen Dumas.
This just it, breaking news. No more bullshit. No more bullshit.
I'm Grace Karos, and I'm third generation of American Coney Island. People say Detroit's a comeback city. I say, where you been? We've been here for over 100 years. My family's been here on the same corner, serving our famous proprietary American Coney Island hot dog. So like always, we're keeping things fresh, updated, and new. We'd love to have you come downtown and visit us, but if you can't, you can always go to AmericanConeyIsland.com, order a Coney kit, get it delivered fresh right to your door.
Look at that. That's the mayor of downtown. the Louis Vuitton belt. Now the market is up and down like a washwoman's ass on Monday. I mean, do not panic. Call Luke Nowacki. He'll tailor a financial plan specifically for you, from annuities to retirement accounts to college savings. He'll keep you up to date and always a phone call away. I just got his quarterly letter. The guy's brilliant. Do not panic. I'm not panicking. I'm taking Luke's advice. I call a couple other people, however. But my first call is always at Luke Nowacki at Pinnacle Wealth Strategies. Let Luke worry so you don't have to. 248-663-4748. And before we get to the mayor of the East Side, Karen's got a little news about the mayor of the city writ large.
Yes, we are going to host, and I don't want to call it a debate, I'm going to call it a conversation. Charlie and I are going to argue that point, but on May 22nd at the Northwest campus of Wayne County Community College District. And so far, all of the candidates have agreed.
You didn't announce what? We're having a what? A conversation?
I said, I'm not calling it a debate. I said, we're calling it a conversation. I said, and you and I disagree on that. But with the candidates who are running for mayor for the city of Detroit.
All six declared candidates.
All six declared candidates have so far agreed to participate. And they have been very responsive, and I appreciate that. And so I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. So the new media, the No Bullshit News Hour, is hosting a mayoral debate.
Conversation. I don't want to call it, because I don't like the whole formality thing. You get 2 minutes, you get that, and then it gets, and I want it to be a conversation. I want to find out who these people are, why they want to run for mayor, what do they want to do, and how do they plan to do it. I don't want to hear them tell me what somebody else didn't do and what they're not bringing, and I don't want to hear that. I want some answers, just on some simple things that give an indication that they know what's going on, that they are anticipating what is before them, who they're going to cater to. I mean, and you and I know we're going to sit down and make sure that, we know we didn't just get here. So we've got the background. So we want to ask some substantive questions and hopefully get some substantive responses.
I love it. Brought to you by Karen Dumas. We were just discussing it, and bang, she put it together. I mean, and again, it's May 22nd.
May 22nd.
6 o'clock.
I forgot.
Yeah,
6 to 8. 6 to 8.
Yeah.
It's a
Thank
Thursday,
you.
right?
Right. It's a Thursday, 6 to 8 at the Northwest Campus, 8200 West Outer Drive, Northwest Campus of Wayne County Community College District. It's a beautiful campus. You've got parking. I'm going to spring for refreshments because I'm not going to have people sitting there. I am, because I want to make sure.
My whole family's going to show up.
Charlie was like, you can't.
Leave early.
Well, no, but you can't. You have to. I want people to be comfortable. It is open to the public. We want you to come out and just hear and see these people for who they are, behind an ad, behind a caption, and behind a Facebook post or something.
And it's with the old media, it's not important anymore. This used to be a big thing.
It did, but it's not, Charlie. But there, you were talking about the misidentification of John James. But there was a reporter that posted on Twitter and said, "Oh, I didn't know that Dan Gilbert came to Detroit under the Kilpatrick administration." And I responded, a whole lot happened before 2014. Like, people act like all this stuff is just new. Yeah. The Riverwalk development, the redevelopment of Eastern Market. Somebody wrote a letter to the editor that Duggan did not save Detroit, that they're not giving Dave Bing credit for laying the groundwork and the variables that happened that allowed Duggan to just walk in and act like he was the savior. And, people don't look beyond what's before them.
And was it? Like you said about Riverwalk. Mm-hmm. $40 million got embezzled. You know why? Because that whole consortium had one guy doing the books, and he would pull up to, a parking lot and then give the bookkeeper, here, enter these in. So now they got to go back to all the donors and go, hey, sorry about that one. Can you?
Yeah, but Kresge, when that first happened, Kresge wrote them a check for $40 million to cover what they said was lost. So, but all I'm saying is that the things that people are celebrating, Eastern Market, the Riverwalk. They were talking about the NFL draft. Okay, well, we had the Super Bowl here. Like, everybody's so myopic in their perspective and approach and opinions. Things didn't just start happening when Duggan took office.
No, but I want to know what's for real, what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. We're facing some issues,
Yep.
right? Okay.
Yep.
And one of those,
I'll save that. But no, I just want to get to the pastor. But remember the woman that lived in my house 25 years ago, and I keep going to City Hall and saying she doesn't live here.
Janet. Right?
Janet.
I think it's Charlie's alias, maybe.
I got Janet. You just got more early in-person voting information at the house, so give me a call and we'll figure out how to divvy up the vote. What in the world is going on?
But nobody cares, Charlie. Nobody cares enough to do what the due diligence required for the positions that they hold.
And they keep telling us stuff like, we're going to purge 600,000 people.
We don't
and
have
here it
purge.
is.
We don't have transparency, accountability, none of it.
Now let me welcome in Pastor Charles E. Brooks, Jr., the man who with his own hands, brick by brick, built the castle on the east side. How you doing, Pastor?
Blessed, no complaints. Good blessed morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you, sir. Listen, we spoke yesterday, and in the written article in The Enjoyer, it doesn't say they reached an agreement that he would fix it up in 180 days. As the pastor explained to me, it's an ultimatum. Do you want to explain your feelings about it, sir?
Yeah, we got the lawsuit originally that we've been discussing all along, and on the lawsuit, it has on the back page about the violations, the blight violations that they wanted me to correct. And in talking, the only person that I have discussed this with from city level is going to be Ray Solomon. And exactly what Ray Solomon told me, you fix these violations and they're going to leave you alone and this will be over with. However, at the end of the week, I get an email from the Detroit Land Bank, and it's a consent agreement. And I'm like, well, what is this all about? Why am I signing a consent agreement about something that they've already filed a lawsuit on? I'm not under obligation to be signing a consent agreement behind this. And this is in spite of all what they're doing in the media, trying to right their wrong. They keep saying that they didn't take my house, but I don't have any control over my property.
See that? Now, God came, you were a number of years ago shot in an artery, left for dead, carjacked on the sidewalk, and then the Lord came to you and told you not to leave the city, but to stay. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you did.
Yeah.
I mean, why you do? I look at that thing and I just go, who is responsible for this?
It's impressive. It is massive, and it has been there for a long time. Anybody that is on or familiar with the East Side knows to go and see it, because it is like a physical miracle.
It's like the Taj Mahal.
I like that, Charlie.
Huh? Thank you very much.
If I can, Charlie, and the listening audience, my son, who is my chief of operations, he's 22 now. I got shot in front of him and two of my other children in the carjacking. And I got hit in the main artery, and I pretty much passed away because they were trying to call the EMS, but the EMS kept hanging up the phone on the children because they said they were playing on the phone. So I lay face down in the streets right here in Detroit for 32 minutes, face down. When the police got there, they put the tape up around my body and told my family that they couldn't do anything for me. So from that time on the time till I hit the operating table, it was 1 hour and 47 minutes before they actually got a chance to operate or do anything with me. When they got me to the hospital, we had a police escort on the way to the hospital, and but the EMS driver radioed to the police of some kind of way. They were able to let them know that they had lost me once again in the back of the EMS. And so the police car slowed down and got behind the EMS, and the EMS just cruised to the hospital. When they got me to the hospital, they wheeled me in, but they didn't take me to the operating room. I think they took me off to the side, and we always call her Angel. You know, she was like, well, what happened to the guy that just came in? It's like, oh, no, he's gone. And she said, I want to check for myself. And she came to my body and pulled the sheets back and found a faint pulse and hollered and told them, hey, he's got a pulse. And that's when they took me to the operating table and, worked on me.
Wow.
And at what point did the Lord speak to you after this?
When they had me in the EMS, as I was leaving here, they said, he's gone, he's gone, he's gone. And I started reciting the 23rd Psalm. And when I woke up 2 days later, I was still reciting the 23rd Psalm despite having 13 tubes in my body and being on life support. And I woke up and I was talking just like you. And I started with the doctors and everyone, but I finished the 23rd Psalm. And I was in protective custody. I was a John Doe due to the severity of the crime. So my family or no one was in there with me. And I woke up and I'm looking around. I'm like, what's going on? And the Lord came to me and said that, I brought you back to life and, but I want you to do something for me. I'm like, what do you need, Lord? And we're having this conversation on my deathbed. And he said that, I want you to do 3 things for me. I want you to go get my children, go get the city of Detroit, and go and get my church because they've all been stolen from me. I'm like, oh no, you don't want to do that. You don't want me to do that. I'm the biggest whoremonger in town. And that's why I stepped down from the pulpit right before I got shot because of, I wasn't worthy to continue to keep preaching. But God said, I know you and I've chosen you to do this because you're the chosen one and you can't do this. I'm like, okay, Lord. And he's like, I know who you are. So at that time, he said, the blood that's running through your veins is not the blood from man. It's the blood from my son that dripped on Calvary. I didn't find out till 2 years later that the blood that he was talking about, they actually ordered, our bodies hold 10 to 12 quarts of blood. And they ordered 11 3/4 of blood to put in my body because I bled out. I didn't have any blood in my body throughout this process. And so he said, go and get them. And I said, well, Lord, if that's what you want me to do, then may I ask of something from you? And he said, sure. And so I said, well, I want to preach again. I want to walk again. And I want to pour concrete again. And it was kind of like me and God just high-fived and did a dap in the, on my deathbed. And we had a deal. And from that point forward, I stayed 5 days in ICU in grave condition because they did not think I was going to make it. Because my body was trying to accept all of the new blood in my organs. They weren't acting right. And so I came home in a wheelchair. Eventually I came home in a wheelchair and I weighed less than 150 pounds. I couldn't take care of myself. I had to learn how to live life all over again. I couldn't walk. To get a whole sentence out, it would take me about 5 minutes. And at the time, my wife and I were separated. So there was really no one to take care of me because the children were on their way back to school. So my children's mother and some of my other children pitched in to take care of me. And then the community pitched in to assist to take care of me. So someone brought the chicken, someone brought the mashed potatoes, someone brought the bread, someone brought the Kool-Aid. And between them, my children's mother and the community and my children, they took care of Charlie.
Wow. Now, you're a contractor, so for those listening and not watching, you can go to YouTube, you can go to my X account, you can go to the MichiganEnjoyer.com, theenjoyer.com is what it is, and watch this. But if you haven't seen it, I mean, I'm talking 2-3-story homes, an aerial gangway that connects them. It's topped in copper. It's got an 8-car garage. It has a 12-car garage. It has a beautiful stone and granite and iron fence. All it's 7 lots. It's incredible. And you built it yourself with your people, your company. And how did you pay for it, Charles?
Well, I got to give credit where credit is due. With the help of a few good angels and my wife, my children, we were able to construct this over a number of years. My company, Unique Construction Company, has been very successful here in the city of Detroit, our home-based business. So, I didn't hit the lottery. I didn't get grants or anything. It's just the success of our company allowed us to build as such. And it's not like we built this overnight and it was a 1, 2, 3 punch. We did this over a number of years. We went from the single house on the corner and then just doing this and doing that. And as the Lord blessed our company and prospered us, we did a little bit more. We did a little bit more because the family was growing and the business was growing as well. And, I would take assignment from the Lord and he would say, okay, do this, do that. And that's how we were able to do it.
Can I ask a spiritual question? I mean no disrespect. I am sincerely asking because I hear people say that all the time. God spoke to me and I had a conversation. How does that come? Is that mental? Do you close your eyes? Do you hear it? just give me a thumbnail of what that's like, because I hear it all the time, and I'd like to understand it better.
Because God doesn't talk to you.
Karen, I'm glad you asked that. It's kind of different with me because I built this through everything that you could imagine. So, you know, I've been there. I was dealing with my sickness and the whole 9 yards and a bunch of other stuff, foreclosure, lights and gas cut off. And in the middle of the night, the Lord would just wake me up and say, come on and go with me. I want to take you somewhere. So I would literally get up, and he don't say get clothes on. You know, I put my pajama, I have my pajama pants on, and I might throw on a coat or whatever. And he said, come on. And I get in my house shoes, and I would walk around the block over there on Chalmers, and I was on my knees in 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, surrounded by garbage and debris, praying. And I asked the Lord, what am I doing here? And he said, I want you to pray for the new Detroit that I'm about to give you. And it was like an out-of-body experience because God would have me do strange things. And, you know, it was really, really, I'm not going to say it's strange because nothing is strange with God. So I always say divine. Even when you look at the pillars that have the scriptures on it, we were laying a brick with my bricklayers, and what would happen where you see the scriptures that the Lord would speak to me and say, I want 2 Chronicles 7 verse 14 here. Put the 23rd Psalm right here. And so we would block that out, and I would call my stone guy and have him to make the stone. And then after calling him and having him making about 5 stones, he was like, hey, Charlie, you know, you could really just have us to cut a whole sheet and you could save a lot of money and we'll make it off of that. But I say, Gino, you don't understand. The Lord is speaking to me as I build this, you know, because everybody's calling me crazy. I mean, we're building this like as God is speaking to me.
So yeah, it's a listening thing too. Am I correct? I mean, you have to be still and listen.
Yeah, there you go, Karen. Thank you.
That's it's so beautiful. Like, what a great question, because, you know, I'm a reporter, and all the details. I want all the details. And look, he's not a rich man, and I'm telling you, man,
but he's wealthy.
Yeah, he's beyond belief, and the communities responded to him, and they have a sense of pride, and it's spring cleaning in the neighborhood.
That's the Detroit I miss.
And all up and down, they respond to what he's doing, and he could have saved money, but no, he's waiting for the inspiration for what should go there. Now, that's the Lord on the east side of Detroit. Let's talk about the white devil, Mayor Mike Duggan. Okay, because okay, we'll fix that in post. Okay.
No, don't. You said God didn't talk to me, so that's the least. No, don't fix it, Mark.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, everybody knows this guy. Everybody knows what an uplift the man is, and what he's. It's gorgeous. It's at Chalmers and Warren, south of Warren, at Chalmers, just a mile maybe from the points, right? So he's a one-man show with all of his people in the Lord, of course. Yeah.
Charlie, before we dive into that white devil,
we'll fix it in post.
Okay. I want to address something that Karen said right at the end of her conversation about being still. And she said something about, is it mental or physical? Karen, you're absolutely right. No matter what was going on, God unctioned the Holy Spirit to allow me to be still and understand and tune my ears so I could hear, guide my eyes so I can see where he was guiding me and understand what he was taking me through in spite of the circumstances that I was going through in order to carry out this divine assignment. And so when you say be still, a lot of people think it's just sitting still and not doing nothing. God wants to steal everything so he can have full control and direct you like the traffic lights direct us on a red to stop and a green to go. And that's just what the being still with God means. So that actually happened with me in building this project. And I went through everything to build it. You name it, I'll just tell you where it fell. And I actually went through all of that.
Now, the white devil. I don't know why they're fucking with you, Pastor, because one block to the east and one block to the west, they look like the beautiful old Detroit schools, right? Massive. The windows are blown out, trees growing through the roof. People use it as a garbage dump. There's wild pit bulls, wild pheasants. Why the mayor and city hall would be so stressed out about one small house gated in your state. Obviously, you're going to build it. It's half built already. And they leave that monstrosity, that landscape of doom
that they own
all around you. That's what trips me out.
Well, what I've been told as this has been getting traction, because it got shared over 1 billion times in the last month with all of the traction and everybody knowing me and what I've done in the city. What's been told to me out of several stories, but the biggest one is that you outdid the mayor. You've done more in the community than the mayor has actually done for the people, and he's pissed off. And I've been told by this, not by just some people that are like us laymen. I've been told by some people downtown, hey, you done pissed the mayor off because what you've done is epic. What you've done in the 48205, what you've done in that community, how you attract the people, and how you got so many followers and people giving you the thumbs up. And when people look at it, if 100 people look at it, 98 of them are going to be inspired. And they say that the mayor is pissed off because this is bigger than him.
And I hate to say it, but that sounds about right. And that's also why people don't speak up in the city, because they know that if you say something or do something wrong, if it goes against the grain of what he wants you to believe, then you will be reprimanded in some form or fashion, which is unfortunate.
Punished.
Yep.
I know that very well. Okay, so what? He's pissed off. Are you going to fix the place?
Absolutely, Charlie. Like I said, we took that house off the demo list. They were actually going to tear it down. And in the crucible of my assignment from God, what I ended up doing, that was one of the parcels of land that the Lord wanted me to get. And he arranged for me to get it. And we started immediately working on it. And down through the years, I had been working on it. But, life happened and I just kept chipping away at it. I built all this with my bare hands. And just doing it and attempting to finish it and everything. But I had a stroke. I lost my mother, my father, my son, and my uncle. And I just buried my stepfather not too long ago, plus having a stroke, having a couple of times, and being, sick multiple occasions. And then I've been sick under the weather actually since November of 2024. And I'm just not getting back in the swing of things. And then this happens. So I'm in a state of shock right now. I never thought in a million years after the city has never, because I'm the one that put those sewers, curbs, and sidewalks in around the entire estate from Chalmers all the way around the Lakewood. So I never thought in a million years
to send them a
that
bill.
the city would come. Yeah, I didn't hear you, Karen.
I said you should send the city a bill.
Yeah, you're right.
And listen, if they pay you, and you're an entrepreneur looking for a safe and socially responsible real estate investment, consider contacting Archangel Senior Management. Dig this. You might be interested in this. It's a very spiritual company. Senior living is one of the fastest growing markets in America, and Archangel offers small communal living for senior citizens in homes right inside our own neighborhoods. It's the opposite to the cold corporate nursing homes we've all now heard so much about. Archangel has formed partnerships with the School of Nursing and Majestic Residences, which is a home-based assisted living franchise system. The partnership provides authentic caregivers with the tools and training necessary to manage their own care homes, and Archangel investors in that real estate can feel secure in both their investment and their care teams. The care is genuine, the owners are local, and Archangel has Overwatch. If interested in this opportunity, contact Joe LeBlanc at 989-614-0416.
But that's the core of this, Charlie.
That's
the
why,
community.
That's why I was like,
yep, that's exactly the same. That is exactly the same thing.
Okay, write the number down. Write the number down, Charles.
Give it to me again.
989-614-0416. I'm telling you, I'm going to set you two guys up.
Okay, his name, what's his first? I got the last name, LeBlanc.
Joe LeBlanc. LeBlanc.
I got
so you're Pastor Chuck, and he's Nursing Home Joe.
Okay, I
think
that'll be
community. Gonna make it community. Okay, now
I think that'll be a good fix.
Two more questions I got. Because we got to get to the congressman.
Okay.
In the video that we ran at the top of the show, world premiere, You saw Garland Gilchrist, the lieutenant governor, a guy who's connected. You see the treatment that he got. You saw this house. This is 8 years running. Is this a tale of two cities? Not what you are, but who you know? Does that upset you to see that?
It goes back to what Karen said. Well, if you're not well connected, and I'm just a little guy down here, so yeah, he's well connected, and they wouldn't attempt to do anything to him. I mean, if they're going to help him, and based on what you've shared with me, they literally helped him, even though he was 100 times over in blight than what I was. But they helped him, and he didn't lose his, and he's not doing nothing for the community. I mean, he's totally against what the nuisance not against the nuisance debate. He's based on what I've seen and heard, his property fell right within the nuisance and abatement portion, and they took real good care of him. But when it comes to me, after all I've done, and it's been publicized, it's been in CNN, CBS, Fox 2 News, Michigan Chronicle, the Free Press, online editorials. It's been in over 50 different publications and news media stories, and the city of Detroit has never given me a glass of water. Why not just call me up and say, hey, Chuck Brooks, I know you're not into politics, but hey, man, we love what you've done with these communities. Can we just partner up with you? Let's just do this together. And let me say this for the record, I've never met Mayor Duggan a day in my life. I don't know nothing about him. I can only go by my experience, but his name is at the top of this, and this is all boils down to him, because he could stop it in an instant. So let me address him. Why not say, hey, Chuck Brooks, let's partner up and do this community. And I see your expertise, and let's use your expertise, and let's use this as a foundation model and do these communities. I see what he did downtown. Well, no, let me stop. I ain't gonna tell that lie, because Dave Bing had a lot to do with downtown. Coleman Young had a lot to do with this stuff. So I don't want to say what he did with downtown. Actually, what he's doing is piggybacking off of what the people that was before him. And so I don't want to get this twisted, but a lot of people, they get the reward and get the accolades about what someone else has done. But we got to give credit where credit is due or whatever. So downtown looks beautiful. And then they keep calling him the mayor of downtown, and they call me the mayor of the east side. Well, my east side looks good, and their downtown looks good. But why not do a coalition movement and an effort and say, hey, and I know I'm not a big old Dan Gilbert or a big old Ford Foundation, Kresge Foundation. I'm just a little old guy in Lakewood, but why not just partner up with this guy and do this together so we can rebuild our city together if we truly mean it?
Because that goes against the narrative. That goes against the savior mentality that everybody has been sold. That goes against the willingness to share credit. I was just telling Charlie that someone wrote a letter to the editor saying that they heard his State of the City speech, and how dare he not give credit for what Dave Bing did to help lay the groundwork for him to come in and flip the switch to turn, those things, the things that you just said. So, not everybody is comfortable sharing credit, and not everybody is comfortable giving the opportunity. Everybody says, Detroit is like in Grace's commercial, Detroit is coming back from where? Detroit has never left. And the support that you receive from the community in your illness and in cleaning up that space, that's the Detroit that still exists that I'm looking to come back. I am. I mean, it's been suppressed. It's been whitewashed. No pun intended. But, it has been. And that's not who we are.
Now, if
Karen,
I could,
Karen,
go ahead, Pastor.
Karen, you're my Facebook friend. Do you remember a few years ago, back when I was on the air, and they had that thing about the Committee to Save Detroit, and they had all of the big name players in there, and we went back and forth with that, and I was inboxing you, and they ended up pulling back on it because I said, no, there's nobody on the Committee to Save the Detroit from the community. They had all them big major players on there. You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. I do. But that's the thing. Okay. I mean, and that's the conversation, Charlie, that we have to have going forward.
Well, let me do this because we got the congressman waiting. But in the, first of all, thanks for being with us, Pastor Charles E. Brooks, Jr., the mayor of the East Side. In the spirit of the Easter season, if we bow our heads and recite along with me, if you would, Pastor. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of the righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with holy oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy
follow me all the days of my life, and I would dwell in the house,
The Lord forever.
in the house of the Lord forever.
Amen.
Amen.
Love you, dude.
Also, love you guys too. I guess we have to talk about this later, but remember,
We can
they say that me and the
going.
mayor.
Go ahead.
They said that me and the mayor is beefing. So the city of Detroit put out an official diss track using Nas's ether, and that it was a diss track, and it used part of the argument with me and Ray Solomon, and they put a snippet in there, and then they turned around and created what they're doing for the blight and all this, that, and the other, and it was a straight up diss track. Well, it pissed the community off, and all of the comments in there, and people were calling like, "What are you doing? How could a professional outfit do a diss track against something that's something?" It was crazy. And if you know anything about the diss track, and I can't say it, but the diss track, when it comes on, if you listen to the unedited version, it says F-U-C-K Jay-Z. And what they reiterate to me, F-U-C-K Charles E. Brooks Jr. What city government, what mayor would do that to a citizen?
Yeah.
Who would do that?
But that's the foolishness
I think
that
they
you see
pulled
at the
it.
state level. They've got
They
these
pulled
kids,
it.
but they've got these kids running these social media sites. I mean, and they're doing the TikToks and all that kind of stuff, and it has no degree of professionalism or decorum or courtesy or consideration for the people that they are supposed to be serving.
But Karen, if you look at the Free Press article that ran the other day, the 4-page article, Ray Solomon said in his own words, "We pulled the diss track because it did what it was supposed to do. So we pulled it." And it's in the Free Press ad in big bold print.
Would you stop promoting the Free Press and CNN? This is the No Bullshit News Hour.
Oh, okay.
You can find the definitive story, a nice story, a well-written story. Okay, let me just give you I'm going to find it. In the Michigan Enjoyer. All the rest of them, I can't even read it.
All right, well, Charlie, we'll edit it and put it in the no bull. What is this? The no, you know what it is. You can't, Pastor can't say that.
NBN,
so put it in here, Charlie. We're going to put it on the no bull, the no bull site.
Okay.
The BS.
No BS. No BS News Hour.
My story starts
All right,
out, after being shot and left for dead, Charles Brooks Jr. received instruction from the Almighty. Now, you want to read that, not some shithead from downtown telling you about blight and diss tracks. I mean, the real stuff, the real guy. And by the way, it's been Chuckapalooza today.
Chuckapalooza.
An article, a video, and this, because everybody in this room, dude, was just transfixed on how this came to be. Just beautiful. Now I really feel I have a friend here. And if you need some warring help with downtown, I know how to war.
Yeah, and I got to give it to you, Karen. We've been Facebook friends for a number of years, but I go back to our inboxes and our conversation. You've always said, I appreciate what you're doing. And I mean, so at least I can say you stand behind who you really are. And I really appreciate, and I'm honored to be your friend.
Well, thank you, and I feel the same for you. And you know, I have long admired and supported who you are and what you do. I'm a lifelong East Sider, so I certainly appreciate that, Mr. Mayor of the East Side.
Wait a minute, I got something in my eye, Mark. Just take us to commercial, Mark. Well, you know, when it rains, the power goes out. And when the power goes out, the internet goes out. When the internet goes out, I call my friend Matt and Bernie at XG Service Group. Look at Bernie here on his hands and knees, giving it everything he's got. Look at that man crack. So busy, he forgot to wear a belt. There's Matt right there getting the board together. That's 734-245-4100 if you need Matt and Bernie to come take care of your voice over internet, your security cameras, off-campus access control, Wi-Fi, and cameras for homes and business. They'll design it for you. You got restaurants, they do drive-through systems, railroad cameras for public safety, total wireless camera systems for your home and business. Yeah, that's right. Call XG Services at 734-245-4100. Well, now, everybody laughs at that XG Service Group bit. They're great, though. The internet, since he installed it, has not screwed up once.
No, I love him for that too.
Fiber optic
makes my life easier.
But every time I go to Starbucks, I think about them because I did not know until he pointed out they have cameras there. Yep. So I don't make faces anymore when they're screwing up or taking a long time. I smile.
It's not Bernie.
I know it's not.
Bernie installs
but
them.
He does them. I know that, and I wasn't aware. So
now, speaking of international intrigue, I want to welcome in the Henry Kissinger of Mid-Michigan, Congressman Tom Barrett of the 7th District, which is mid-state, welcome in, Tom, and congratulations. You just got back from Mexico tell the people who don't know what happened.
Sure, and Charlie, thanks for having me. And like you said, we had this really unusual incident happen. Starting about a month ago, a couple from mid-Michigan was detained down in Mexico over what essentially arose from a timeshare contract dispute with a Mexican resort. That landed them in a Mexican maximum security prison in Cancun for weeks. Was able to travel down there last week, arrived Wednesday morning, and by Thursday evening, we were flying back home to Michigan, and it was a great opportunity to get them back home to their family safely, and something that I was proud to have a part in.
Yeah, it was really the reason, one, I know you, too. I was just interested because, one, these people aren't even from your district, right? So it's not your congressional district. The U.S. senators aren't helping. How did you, first of all, habla español?
No, I speak. In fact, at the very end, as we were closing this whole thing out, I said, all right, vámonos. I know about 3 Spanish words. That's one of them. Let's do this and get it done. But originally we were under the thought with quite a bit of sincerity that they were constituents of mine. Their daughter does live in my district, and she was the one that kind of made the story. It became a media, sensation and everything else, and got a lot of traction. She is a constituent of mine, and the couple had lived in my district previously, and we were far into this before we realized that they technically lived across the border in the adjacent district to mine. But by then we were so deep into it that I did not think it made any sense to shift gears and change out who was going to be taking the lead on it. I was perfectly comfortable finishing out the project and get the couple home. I felt like we had invested a lot of time from my office with the State Department and just myself personally with the family back in Michigan to really get this resolved. And I didn't want to have them start over with the new member of Congress. And I was comfortable going down there to make sure that they got home safely.
It was on your own dime, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we traveled down. No taxpayer money used to travel down or back.
What'd you take? You take Whitmer's plane? Was that what you did? Or Epstein's plane, or El Chapo's plane?
Not Spirit.
Yeah. I think we flew United Airlines on the way down there, which is not common for me. Usually, I'm on either American or Delta, flying back and forth out of Michigan. But this just happened last week on Tuesday. I got a briefing from the State Department that really was not satisfactory about their condition, the terms of their detention, or anything else. That had drifted day after day. In fact, when we first found out about it, we contacted the State Department, and they said, well, we need the couple to sign a privacy release form before we can share any information with you. So they had the State Department down in Mexico had to go to the prison, get them to sign the document, which they were, of course, willing to do, which then opened the door for them to begin sharing information with us. And as the days wore on, at the very end of March leading into early April, we had been told that they were imminently about to be released down to like a home arrest condition in Mexico, which would take away the most intense concerns about their health, welfare, and safety inside that prison. But it kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed. And by Tuesday afternoon, it just wasn't getting resolved. And I had no confidence that it was going to actually result in anything actionable in any relatively short span of time. And I made the decision, knowing and speaking to their family that their conditions were worsening down in Mexico, to get on the next flight down there that I could, which happened to be Wednesday morning. We flew out of Dulles, direct down to Cancun, went straight to the prison from there. We were met at the airport by the consulate general for that region of the country. That's the American State Department diplomat on the ground there. We went directly to the prison where they were detained, met with them for about an hour. I got permission to begin negotiating on their behalf. I was in touch with their family back home in Michigan the entire time. And then from there, met with the president of the Mexican Supreme Court in the state in which we were located and began to work the angle of getting them in front of a judge. Because one of the biggest issues we were running into is their next trial date or court date was like 9 months or a year out.
Well,
and that was just...
I'm sorry, but let me just explain what was happening. It was basically a couple from Jackson County, right? Arbor Springs. Got a timeshare down in Cancun. I don't know the particulars of this, but it was $116,000 in charges that was on their Amex card. They were unsatisfied, so they put a stop payment, and Amex agreed on 13 of them. I don't know how you spend $116,000 for a...
Yeah.
I do, because I just went through that same sales pitch from Palace, and that's their starting point is $100,000. I think the 16 must be interest or whatever. But like anybody that's been through a timeshare thing, they will always go, okay, how about 50,000? How about 20,000? How about 10,000? So at some point they must have agreed.
So Mark, the couple goes down there, they spend all this money, they're not satisfied, they cancel it, they go on Facebook and tell a lot of other people who aren't satisfied how they did it.
Yeah.
The company in Mexico gets mad, sees the Facebook posts, and a warrant's issued. Now the question is, Congressman, they get off the plane and they're flagged right away, right?
Yeah.
And they went back to Cancun. Where were they going to stay? At the same timeshare?
No, they were staying somewhere else. They had disputed these charges 2 or 3 years ago because they felt that there had been a breach of contract from the resort. The resort felt that the couple had breached their terms. So there was like a mutual back and forth between the parties. And then the couple was able to dispute the charges through American Express, like you said. It was a recurring monthly charge on their credit card. So each instance that they challenged it was another addition to that disputed amount, which ultimately totaled about $116,000 over the term of that time that the billing was going on. They disputed it. American Express held in favor of the couple. There were letters back and forth between the resort and the couple, and their attorneys in the United States. And then about 3 years went by. They had traveled in and out of Mexico multiple times to different, vacation destinations they were going to. They thought this chapter was behind them. And then just about a month or 6 weeks ago, they went down to Mexico to meet some friends, staying somewhere else. They got snatched up. They had an Interpol, warrant against them.
Dude, it's a financial dispute.
It is.
They got an Interpol warrant, and they threw them in a maximum security prison in lieu of a jail.
Yeah. So
Nuts.
To me, you start from the fact that in the United States, this would be a litigation civil claim between parties in dispute over a contract. So you start from there. We don't put parties in prison, over a financial dispute of this type of nature. Like there's litigation and one party ultimately is found responsible, and that's how the proceedings go. From there, it had been so long. Part of the issue, again, with the Mexican court system was how slow it went, that apparently these charges were originated back in 2022 or 2023. They just didn't process until more recently. So when the couple
we've got it, Congressman, because you're gonna be running out in 5 minutes. I got other stuff to get to here. Let's just say, este es pinche loco, y do not play around in Mexico, man.
Yeah, it was crazy. And the prison was absolutely awful. I mean, Paul, the husband, said that he was in a 6-man prison room with 30 other guys. They were sleeping on the ground. They only had intermittent running water. They had to fill buckets of water during the day because the water shut off at night, and they had to use that to flush the toilets.
It sounded like the old 13th precinct here on Woodward. They locked us up on a hot weekend. It was a 4th of July weekend. We were drinking out of the toilet.
Yeah.
They gave the rights, your Miranda they give you. We had to make it into a cup. Drink. It was terrible. Okay, anyway, just one more thing before you go. I want to show you this. The White House posted this. John James reposted it, and you haven't You haven't touched it, and I want to know why right after this. Now here's what's left of the area around the once sprawling Delphi facility in Flint, Michigan, the birthplace of General Motors, Delphi's one-time parent company. And it's not just Flint. A recent study estimates that the total number of American jobs lost due to NAFTA is about 1 million. And Delphi is now one of Mexico's largest employers, with about 50 factories south of the border.
They shut right down and tore it down and took our jobs and put them over in Mexico and paid them people peanuts. Flint used to be Motor City. It's no longer Motor City. Where's all the motor? What about the kids here that are going hungry? They're not worried about those kids, obviously, and that's the kids they should be worried about. They shouldn't be worried about what's happening in some other country.
Now, when you're down in Mexico, did you see our jobs?
I didn't have opportunity to see our jobs down there. I was only on the ground about 32 hours, and I was pretty laser focused on the mission I had down there. But I will say, and I hadn't seen your video until just now, but you're really pointing to an exact frustration that everybody feels. I think, I mean, maybe not the corporate elitists that outsource the jobs, but everybody else among us feels like we have had a crushing blow time after time, year after year, decade after decade of these jobs leaving our country. And it's had not just an economic impact on Michigan and across our country, it's had a cultural impact. We have 7 million men in America that aren't working and they're not looking for work. And we've taken away the dignity of work and the dignity of doing a job and having it, serve your family and provide for your livelihood. We have stripped that out of our culture. And now we have a whole generation of young men that are living off marijuana and DoorDash and staying in their mom's basement, and they're not going out and filling their greatest potential. And that's not entirely attributable to NAFTA and all the conditions that came from that, but it is a contributing factor where we've taken away the dignity of work, and this is a huge issue that we have to confront.
And I want a simple answer here, because you said the corporate elitists. That's who's losing on Wall Street right now. Right?
Yes.
1% owns 50% of the stock. That's where all the profit went, into overvaluation of stocks. Okay, so I don't understand the reciprocal tariff thing as the first move, because a Vietnamese worker makes $300 a month. What is it? They're not buying Silverados from us. So the world scheme to me and my sources and the way I look at it, the real deal here going on is we need to bottle up China, because they've infiltrated every natural resource, every market around the world, and they're the ones that own Vietnam. It's their factories. They pay the cheap wages, and they dump it in here. So that has to be stopped. Corporate taxes need to be cut if you build in the United States. That's long term. Explain to me this reciprocal thing when.
Yeah.
Okay. How's that a strategy?
Yeah, so I think it's to your point earlier about how China has put their tentacles into every other one of these foreign countries that are then selling into the United States and overcoming some of the tariff barriers that we've erected in other ways. We have to really go after the root cause, which is the Chinese influence going into it. But it's not just Vietnam. It's also Japan. It's also European countries.
Yes.
They set up trade barriers other than even just tariffs that make it nearly impossible for Americans to sell our products in those countries. You can get a Toyota, anywhere in America that you want, but you can't buy a General Motors product in Japan. So that's also, that's partly due to tariffs, but it's also due to trade barriers that exist beyond just tariffs that make it an absolute prohibitive barrier to entry into Japan. It can change even, I was talking to some of our General Motors folks, they were saying the color of the brake lights will be a slightly different shade of red in the United States than in Japan.
That's
neither one of them.
Right? That's the smaller problem. The bigger problem is getting Delphi back here.
Yes.
Right? And all the cheap parts for Delphi being made in a third world country. That's important, importing stuff from China. Is this reciprocal tariff? We got to lower the trade imbalance, but we beat people up. And then what we say to Vietnam, Mexico, Canada is it's your right under the world trade structure to slap a 30% tariff on China. Is that what we're really trying to do?
Yeah, I think we're definitely trying to outmaneuver China, and it's a pretty big game of chess and maneuvering and how we do that. Looking at other countries as well along the way. But you're right, the Vietnamese worker there is not going to be buying a Silverado or a Cadillac tomorrow. That's not going to happen. But it is about a whole effort, a collective effort to bring a lot of this manufacturing back to the United States. It's going to take time to ramp back up the opportunities that we're going to have to do that. There's going to be some market disturbance along the way. To your point, most of the stock holdings are among the wealthiest Americans that hold the greatest number of stocks. But these are all part of a total effort to do that. And I look at it too from the national security standpoint. If we have to, or when we have to, go to war someday and defend the United States and defend our interests abroad, and we're not able to manufacture the particular machinery and weaponry and everything else that it's going to take to do that, we are putting ourselves in a very, very vulnerable position.
100%. But again, it's got nothing to do with reciprocal trade in that sense. And Americans have a very short attention span. If they don't get what's going on, they freak out. So we don't know the plan.
But if outcome of that is bringing more onshore manufacturing and production into the United States, then that'll have the effect of making us in a better national security posture and giving us the ability to rebuild our economy with a middle class that builds things.
Okay, I know you need to go, but the one last, you found that the clip?
Yeah, they found, yeah. Ken found it.
So a little closer to home, we've got a big governor's race going on, and from your party, John James kind of announced. He didn't really do anything. He just kind of put out a piece of paper. But the Free Press posted it, and it was buried on their front page. Where's it at, Mark?
It's up there right now. So
I can't see it. Where's it at?
Oh, you can't see it on the...
Well, they originally had the wrong photo up.
That's the correct photo.
Yeah.
That's the correct photo. It's John. I know John. That's him.
Where's the Free Press one, Mark? I don't see it.
So John James.
There
John
it is,
James.
right there. That's
it.
The Detroit.
Yeah.
So, John James, if you don't know, is a decorated military veteran, a well-to-do black man, and Garland Gilchrist is also a black man. He happens to be lieutenant governor, but the Free Press can't tell them apart.
Yeah.
Oh, the white hipsters. Oh, jeez.
And that's what it is, Charlie. You got all these young people, they don't know, and they don't do their research. They don't know. They don't know.
At the end of the day, one of my frustrations in journalism more recently has just been the laziness of people not doing their due diligence around reporting. They just knee jerk. They want the clickbait, and then, it's lost on the people consuming it. And that is a frustration that I've felt. This is one example of it, but you can point to many others as well.
Well, Gilchrist gets all the breaks. He gets John James glory, and he doesn't have to pay on that crappy land bank house he left rotten in hell. Congressman Tom Barrett, the new Henry Kissinger.
He's going to be known as the congressman who cares. Like, he told us the how, but he didn't tell us the why. So the next time, I want to know the why.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why quickly, because I thought about this and I'm like, if this were my mom and dad in a Mexican maximum security prison, I would want somebody or anybody to do absolutely everything they can to get them out. And I was committed to doing that. And when I got there, I said, listen, I'm here for one reason, to get Paul and Christy home, and I'm not leaving without them. And it took the next 32 hours to get everything done and do the tightrope dance of getting everybody's, maneuvering in place. But, they're home safe with their family, and that's, something I'm proud of.
Okay. So we'll keep that in mind, even though we're not in this district.
Usted ganó.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Now get in there and vote often.
Thanks.
All right, we'll see y'all next week, right? Oh, I'll see you Friday.
Yes.
Okay.
11. Team?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Arrivederci. In case I got to go to Sicily this year.